Hey guys, Omaha here. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the Baldur's Gate 3 cantrips in a tier list from S to F tier. Now, this is a subjective list, obviously, based on my experiences with these cantrips, so if you disagree, let me know down in the comments why, and maybe I'll agree with you, maybe I'll disagree. I guess you'll never know until you make your case. But with that said, let's go over these tiers really quick to kind of explain how I'm going to be ranking them. So S tier. These are always amazing. You're never going to not want to use them. You could use them almost every encounter and come out in a good situation. So someone asks, should I cast this? Should I cast that? Here's my answer right here. Yes. Almost every time. A, these are always great spells, or cantrips in this case. No one's going to be mad at you for casting these. B, they're good. Maybe there's something better, but they're always good. It's never going to really hurt you too bad to be casting these. C, these are average, pretty mid. Maybe kind of niche in some situations. So yeah, kind of average. Other things are going to be doing better. You're going to usually want to do something B or above. D, these are usually avoid. I would avoid these unless it's an extremely niche situation. But even then, usually avoid. And F, stop it. Get some help. This is a special tier for something you pretty much never want to cast. Well, you definitely don't want to ever cast. It's useless. It's garbage. Get it out of here. All right, our first one is Acid Splash. So let's go look at that. This does 1d6 acid damage in a 2 meter or 7 foot radius, which is a pretty small radius. And at level 5, that'll go up to 2d6, and then level 10, 3d6. So the damage itself isn't great and doesn't have any additional effects, which kind of brings it down for me. The dexterity save to negate all damage is really what brings it down. Them just not taking any damage at all really kind of hurts this. And the small radius, you're probably at most only going to be hitting 2 people with it. Odds are you're probably not going to be even doing that most of the time. So I'm going to put that one on usually avoid, because I would usually avoid using that. There's a lot of better options. You're usually better off doing something else. Next up, we have Blade Ward. Take only half damage from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing attacks for 2 turns. Now, that effect on its own is actually good, but the fact that you have to use an action to cast that on one person, it's not really efficient economy-wise. It might be good in a really niche scenario, like if you know a boss is about to do something crazy to you, but honestly, it's pretty mid. I'll probably stick it in the C tier for now. Yeah, you could even go and use the Hellrider's Pride if you really want this effect. Throw it on a cleric. Every time you heal, you get that effect. You can just do an AoE heal and give that to your whole party for 2 turns. It's so much better. So the effect itself is good. It's just that you're using an action with this cantrip to only give it to one person. That's what kind of makes it average. Next up, we have Bone Chill. And Bone Chill I actually really like. Prevent the target from healing until your next turn. An undead target receives disadvantage on attack rolls. So this will do 1d8 necrotic damage. It'll scale to 2d8 and 3d8, just like other cantrips scale. So that duration for those effects is going to last 1 turn. Being able to stop an enemy from healing is really good if you know they're going to do that. And then giving disadvantage on attack rolls against undead is really good as well. There's a lot of undead enemies in this game. That comes in pretty clutch. And the damage isn't too bad. 3d8. So that I would actually put in A tier. Next up is Dancing Lights. Now this one, eliminate a 9 foot or 9 meter, 3 foot, 30 foot radius. Man, I can't even talk. It's a concentration spell. Yeah, that's all it does. It's going to help you see in the dark if you don't have dark vision, but it's a concentration cantrip. Your concentration's better served elsewhere, and there are definitely way better ways to illuminate areas, so that's usually avoid. And honestly, I'm tempted to even put it in F tier, but I'll put it in D tier. We'll see how the list looks at the end. I might rearrange stuff at the end of the list. Next up is, well, you guys know where this is going. Eldritch Blast. Conjure a beam of crackling energy, deals 1d10 force damage to a target. Sounds kind of average right there, but you get 2 beams at level 5 3 beams at level 10. Each of those is a separate attack roll. And what makes this crazy is you get these Eldritch Invocations if you play as a Warlock. So this enhances it even further. This adds your Charisma modifier to the damage. Repelling Blast pushes enemies away. You can push them down to a chasm. That's an insta-kill right there. Even without that, if you're playing a Sorcerer, you can Quicken Cast and use it twice. That's 6 beams of damage. And since they're separate attack rolls, anything that adds damage to attacks is applied per beam. So, I mean, if you use Hex, you're going to add that 1d6 necrotic damage to each beam, and that adds up very, very quickly. You can use that robe from Act 2 that adds your charisma modifier to the damage, and that stacks with Agonizing Blast, so you're getting even more damage per beam. The way you can build this cantrip up, really, you can get over 100 damage in a turn with this cantrip alone. Well, not alone, but using like sorcery points and all that, quick and cast and that kind of stuff. You know, for that reason, it's got to go in the yes tier. It's pretty good. Next up is Firebolt. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Firebolt. 1d10 fire damage, 2d10, and then 3d10 once you hit level 10. The damage is good. That's the highest damage you're going to get out of a cantrip. Just for one instance. Obviously, Eldritch Blast does more, but yeah, 3d10 damage. That's pretty good. And it doesn't have any additional effects, and that's kind of what brings it down for me. So you're just getting straight damage at it. I'll put it in the B tier. Like A tier with Bone Chill, you're still getting an extra effect of, you know, the disadvantage of the not healing. This is just decent damage. So it's good. You're not going to really be hurting yourself by using it. It's good if you're out of spells. Next up is Friends. Gain advantage on charisma checks against a non-hostile creature. Higher difficulty modes, the target might accuse you of enchanting them. So that's in, like, I think Tactician. Yeah, on Tactician difficulty, casting the cantrip on someone is considered a crime. Some targets may immediately become hostile if they see the caster upon the effect expiring. So usually you can get away from that. It's kind of a one and done type of deal. If you don't plan on seeing that person again, you're going to get advantage on that, rolling 2 dice and using the higher value. It's really good, considering it's on all charisma checks. So yeah, I'm going to put it in, I'll put it in A tier. Because that's really good. Even in honor mode, you can use that, and then odds are you're probably not seeing that person again if you're using that. Next up is Guidance. So this just gives you a flat 1d4 bonus to all ability checks. So anything. Perception checks when you're walking around in the world. All conversation checks. If you're going to shove an enemy, it's going to roll athletics. That'll add 1d4 to that. It's applied to all ability checks, which is insane. And it's a cantrip, so you can use it every single time for every single conversation. And it's got to go in the S tier. It's too good. Always, you want to use that for every conversation, for even just keep it up when you're walking around for the other checks. Next is Mage Hand. Create a spectral hand that can manipulate and interact with objects. So the last 10 turns, the thing that's really good about this, it charges on a short rest too. The thing that's good about this is it can disarm traps safely. You don't have to worry about hurting yourself when you go to damage traps. It can interact with objects. You can send it through small crevices to scout ahead. You can use it to throw potions to heal yourself in combat. Drop some potions before combat starts. Have him throw those to heal your party or pick up downed members during the fight. Also kind of a distraction. Enemies, they target that. There goes their turn. Yeah, it's solid. It's I'd put it in A tier. It's great. There's not really a downside to using it, especially if you use it before combat or if you're using it outside of combat for traps and stuff. Next is Light. And Light is very good. Infuse an object with an aura of light. So you can infuse your weapon with this, and you're basically illuminating I think it's a 30-foot area. 25-foot area around you, or 7.5 meters, and it lasts until a long rest, concentration free. This is super good in Act 2, and there's no reason to not use it. I'm tempted to put it in S tier, because really you long rest and then you just cast this immediately, and it's just gonna go into your next long rest. There's no downsides, it's all upsides, and you don't have to have dark vision if you have this. I'll put it in S tier because really there's no reason to not use it. You should use it every time, especially in Act 2. It's great in Act 2. Next is Minor Illusion. Create an illusion that compels nearby creatures to investigate. You can remain hidden while casting this spell, which is huge, and you can cast it while silenced. That doesn't necessarily matter as much. So what you want to do with this is before combat, you cast this, and all the NPCs around are going to go up to it and investigate. So it's amazing for setting up crowd control spells like a fireball or something. That's just huge value for no cost really at all. It's going in S tier. It's a yes. You got to use. Maybe I'll put it above light. It's so good being able to set up, like setting up all the goblins near the windmill. You can just have them all go stand next to each other with that, and then just cast, an AOE spell, and you get huge value out of that. Or even if you want to sneak past an encounter, they'll all go investigate, and you can just walk past. So it has multiple uses, and yeah, it's a cantrip, so it's great. Next is Poison Spray. Poison Spray is, project a puff of noxious gas dealing 1d12 poison to a target. Now, there's a lot of enemies that resist poison or flat out immune to it in this game, and there's a constitution save to negate the damage. It does increase the damage to 2d12 and 3d12 as you level up, but there's so many enemies that are resistant to it. It's just, there's so many better options. I would put it probably here. Yeah, I'll stick it there because even Acid Splash is better than that. There's just too many people resisting it. Next is Produce Flame. A flame in your hand sheds a light in a 30-foot radius and deals 1d8 fire damage when thrown. So what you do is you use the action to produce this flame, and then you basically have the light spell on you. That lasts until a long rest. And then you can use another action to hurl it, kind of like a weaker version of Firebolt. So it'll do 1d8, then 2d8, then 3d8 as you scale. And actually using the hurl part of it only costs an action if you use it in a subsequent turn. So if you use that in the same turn as Produce Flame, it doesn't cost anything. So you're just using one action for both of those. And that's pretty good. It's like kind of a hybrid between Light and Firebolt. Yeah, I would probably put that in... Do I want to put an A? Yeah. It's kind of a thing where if you're going to use Light, you might as well just use Light. And then if you're going to use Firebolt for more damage, you might as well just use Firebolt. It's kind of, yeah. I would probably put it here, B tier, right below Firebolt. Like, it is good. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me know in the comments. I don't know where to put it, to be honest. It's kind of hard. I'll probably put it in B tier. Next is Ray of Frost. Now, Ray of Frost is actually really good. Reduce the target's movement speed by 10 feet, and then you're dealing 1d8 cold damage on top of that. And that's going to scale to 2d8 and 3d8. So the damage is pretty solid. It's not the best, but you're slowing them down so they can't move as much. So the added effect is really, it's a good effect to add on. So I'd probably put that, man, where do I want to put that? I might, yeah, it's tough. Maybe A tier. Yeah, let's go with A tier, I think. You know what? Put it back in B tier for now, just because I think the effects from these are just, from like Bone Chill and stuff, are just simply better. I might move it at the end. Okay, next we have Resistance. So make a target more resistant to spell effects and conditions. It gets a 1d4 bonus to saving throws. That effect is good. The last 10 turns. It's a concentration spell too. So yeah, there's a chance you're gonna lose that in combat. It's good. Yeah. You're only giving it to one person. And it's kind of like type of thing where you could just use Bless and give it to multiple people. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in mid. So it's a 1d4 bonus to saving throws, which is good. It's just you're using an action for that and your concentration slot. And I think your concentration slot is better used elsewhere. Next up, we have Sacred Flame. So engulf a target in a flame-like radiance. This does 1d8 radiant damage, and it does have the dexterity save to negate the damage. It does, and then it upscales to 2d8 and 3d8 radiant. The thing that makes this so good, well, it's not so good, but the thing that makes it good is that Act 2, there's so many enemies weak to radiant damage that I want to put it in B tier. Maybe I'd put it at the end of B tier. Yeah, I'll put it at the end of B tier because it is good, and it does have the dexterity thing, kind of like Acid Splash, but radiant damages is a better damage type overall anyway. Man, maybe I want to put it in C. I don't know. I'll put it in B. Yeah, let's put it B. Okay. Next is Shillelagh. Shillelagh, and I've been told that's how you pronounce it. So if you think I'm wrong, bring that up with that random Irish guy in my comments that told me. Your staff or club becomes magical. It deals 1d8 plus wisdom modifier bludgeoning damage. I think it's actually just your 1d8 damage, and uses your spellcasting ability for attack rolls. It's a bonus action too. So that lasts 10 turns. So down here it says weapon is magical and deals 1d8 bludgeoning damage, and then your attack rolls use the spellcasting ability modifier. I'm pretty sure that's how it works right there, but I could be wrong. I'm not going to go in and test it right now. Either way, it's solid, especially since it's a bonus action. But it's not like super amazing or anything. I'd probably put it in the B tier just because it's good, and it definitely helps if you're playing as a druid or like a wizard or something, a spellcaster. If you need to do melee damage, it definitely helps. So I'll just put it there. Now I'll put it at the end. Next we have Shocking Grasp. Okay, Shocking Grasp. Target cannot use reactions, and then this spell has advantage on creatures with metal armor. And there's a lot of enemies that do have metal armor later on. So this does lightning damage too, and you can double that if the target's wet. And it'll do 1d8 lightning damage, 2d8, and then 3d8. And doubling that when they're wet, super easy condition to give to enemies. And that just makes it, the damage can scale better than the other ones if you can get them wet. And then you have the 2 effects on top of that. So, and on top of that, I think this is the only melee. Yeah, this is the only melee cantrip in the game. So, yeah, I would put it in A tier. I'll probably put it in the high end of A tier, honestly. Just, you can use that to hit them with lightning damage, and then since I can't take reactions, you can run away. Next is Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy gives you advantage on intimidation and performance checks, which is big. You can bypass whole encounters with that. I'm trying to think of how many encounters really you could do that on. There's a couple, but it's not like they're all over the place. It's good. It's at least B tier, I'd say. I would definitely put it in the B tier. But Friends, I feel like you can use more often, so I'd keep. Yeah, Friends definitely is A tier, and this I would put in B tier just because you don't use it I wouldn't use it as much personally as Friends. I haven't used it as much as Friends, but it does come in clutch sometimes. Okay, next we have Thorn Whip. Now this does 1d6 piercing damage, and it pulls a creature 10 feet closer to you. Now the target can't be pulled if it's huge in size. And then the damage does scale to 2d6 and 3d6. You're not really using this for the damage, though. The thing that's good about this is pulling creatures off of high places if they have advantage with bows, or just pulling a creature off of a cliff. You can do that. That's kind of more niche. Or even pulling enemies closer together to use AoE spells. That is the reason you're going to be using this cantrip. And honestly, I've used this so many times to pull down like archers and stuff. I would put it in high. I put it in high B tier, definitely. Yeah, let's put it there. I might shuffle that around, but we'll see. All right, next is the best spell in the game, guys. True Strike. Gain advantage on your next attack roll, and you have to use a whole action for it, and it's concentration. It's amazing. Last 2 turns, so it's really just your next attack. Well, that's what it says, your next attack roll. Okay. The spellcaster has advantage on attack rolls against the creature. This doesn't even help your allies. This is only helping you using a whole action just to give you a higher chance of hitting on your next turn. You might as well just attack them twice. You're better off attacking twice with a cantrip or something. There's no reason to use a whole action just to set up your next attack. Especially if it doesn't even help your allies. It's just literally only for you. This is F tier. Don't ever use it. It's terrible. And then we have Vicious Mockery. This is our last one. Vicious Mockery. Insult a creature. It has disadvantage on its next attack roll. Now that's pretty decent on its own, but this also does psychic damage, 1d4 psychic damage, wisdom save to negate. It goes up to 2d4 and then 3d4 psychic damage. And psychic damage is one of the... There's not many enemies that resist psychic damage, and that's what makes it really good. You're pretty much always going to get the full damage out of it. Want to put it in A tier? Yeah, let's put it in A tier. Okay, do we want to shuffle anything around? Let's see. I do. Yeah, I want to shuffle that one's. I want that to be in the top of B because it's borderline A. I almost could put it anywhere. This could go in A or B. Just think of it that way. It really could. This actually, I think I'll put in A tier because 10 feet, slowing them down 10 feet is actually a decent amount. So yeah, I think that's pretty good right there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that tier list. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you agree, disagree, that's the place to do it. If this gets enough interest, I'll possibly do levels 1 through 6 for the rest of the spells for Baldur's Gate. Yeah, just let me know if you guys are interested in seeing that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.